Welcome to Northwest Air Guns. I'm John, and today we're going to reseal this Smith & Wesson Model 78G 22 caliber CO2 powered air pistol. And I got this from a guy who had it since he was a kid, and he had the box and everything, and brought it in, and he wanted to get it fixed. And I took a look at it, and I'll show you what it looked like. It came like that, and he said it doesn't hold air. Well, this nut is not supposed to come out of the trigger frame, or the hand frame. It's supposed to stay in there. And so anyway, I was a little bit perturbed, and I said, well, I can fix it, but it's going to take me a while to figure out what's going on here. And he said, well, why don't you just buy it? So I did, and now I've got it. I can work on it at my leisure, I guess. But this was stuck on here, this nut. And it took me a while to figure it out. But what happened is he must have taken it apart and tried to fix the leak himself. And I think he installed this O-ring, which is supposed to go here, but he installed it down here. And so this sliding part, or actually the nut, was stuck on this, and I could not get it off. And I couldn't get this apart because you'll see in a little bit there's a pin that goes through and kind of holds all this together. And anyway, the pin wouldn't line up, so I couldn't drive the pin out. I had to enlarge the hole just very slightly, and then that allowed me to get to the pin. Once I got the pin out, then it all came apart, and I found out what the problem was. I guess we'll go ahead and take this apart, and I'll put this back in a minute. The guy saved these pins, and this is pinned into the frame with these pins here, and we'll see that in just a minute here. But first, let's go ahead and get the piercing assembly taken apart. And to do that, there's a pin. Maybe you can see it here, right there, that pin there, and we have to drive that out. And you can see that I had to elongate the hole just a little bit so that I could get to it, because I couldn't before. We'll go ahead and drive that pin out. There's our pin, and now this all just kind of comes apart, and we have basically four pieces here. It goes like that. Now the rest of this, we're going to take this out. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a screw in there, or a screw head, and I have a screwdriver that I've ground so that it'll kind of go around the pin in the middle and get into that screw, or a nut, I guess it is. Go ahead and take that out. There's the nut there, and underneath that nut there's a O-ring. I don't know if you can see that. Pull that O-ring out. There's the O-ring. Okay, so this is fully disassembled. And like I say, we'll have to clean this piece up so we can install a new O-ring there. We'll try and clean up the seat there so we can put a new O-ring down around the piercing pin. And this is the piercing pin here. And really that's all that's needed, is those two O-rings, and then we'll put it all back together and drive that pin back in, and it should Should be good. Okay, well, we've got this back. I think you can see that we've cleaned up and polished the groove here for the O-ring. So let's go ahead and put that on. I've got this O-ring from Mac 1, and we're going to use a funnel to get it on. Hopefully it'll go right on. A little more, and there it is. Okay, so that one went in okay, and now we've got to put the rest of this together. You can see there's a hole in this one, and that hole is what the pin rides in it. This is elongated, so it has some movement, ability to move a little bit. And we just got to get this lined up here, like so. Okay, see, that's what you want. Now for the O-ring, where did I put that O-ring? Here it is. Put a little lube on it. And it's going down around the pin there. I suppose we could have put the O-ring in first. Okay. Screw here. Doesn't have to be crazy tight. And there is our piercing assembly ready to go back in. I mentioned this nut, so let's go ahead and we'll pull off the grips here. Okay, so you see these two holes here, one there and one here on this side. And if you notice, the nut has this groove here, so these pins go in through the groove, and that's what holds the nut in place. We might as well go ahead and get that done while we have it apart here. Okay, so that part's taken care of. Now, to get this apart, it's kind of a strange mechanism because there's actually a spring guide in here that holds it all together. But you start here in the front with this screw here. Once you get it out of the way, you can do it by hand. And this is the power adjuster. If you look on the inside of this, you can see there's a screw, I think. You can see. And that you can move this in or out to put tension on the hammer spring. Okay, then after that comes, I'm not sure what that piece is called, but it goes like that. And then there's one other piece, that holds the hammer spring, or holds this in place, and it's kind of a tough one to get out. So I made a tool here. This is made out of aluminum, and I just ground 4 flats on it, and you can put it in there and kind of grab hold and turn and pull. And that didn't get it out. Okay, so you try again. Okay, well, this isn't working, so we're going to go to plan B here. It's really stuck in there good. I've got a screw extractor here. We're going to see what kind of damage we can do with that. Ah, okay, so there it is. And we can punch the extractor out. All right, we got it out. So I guess what I would recommend is try the least obtrusive method first, which is just to kind of shake and go like that. That doesn't work. Try grinding a piece of aluminum and sticking it in there, and if you can catch that and kind of twist it out, that would be a second approach. And then if that doesn't work, we start getting aggressive with the screw extractors and stuff like that. So it's out. We'll clean this up so the next time it has to come out, it's not stuck like that. And this, basically how it works, it goes in like that and like that. And if you want to put more tension, this is tensioning the hammer spring. If you want more tension on it, you can adjust this screw here. There's a slot in this side. You can extend it or retract it to adjust the power on these things. Okay, so that's out. Now we can get down to business with disassembling the gun. And let's see. We have to take out this screw back here. But before we do that, there's one other thing I want to do. Just makes it easier later on. So we have a screw back here that's next. It's on the right side, just behind these two. And then the two halves should just come apart like that. There's your barrel, your transfer port right there. There's your hammer spring. So it would look something like that. This can come out, but we're not going to bother with it. Oops, we didn't get that tight enough. I'll have to go back and do that. And there's our valve. To get the valve out, you've got two springs. Well, there's the transfer port there. Got two springs on this side, or two screws on this side, and one on this side. And to get it out, you just kind of tilt it up and pull it out, and there it is. So we're not going to mess with the trigger. This spring sometimes can be a little hard to get back in. And there's one other piece up here in the front that you might want to be aware of. Let's see here. And this is, the spring fits up against it like that, and then this goes through. And essentially, as you increase the tension here, you're pushing this further and further against this spring stop, I guess, and putting more tension on it. So that'll give you a little more power if you want to adjust it. And this piece here can come out. We're not going to take it out. The trigger and safety can come out, but we're not going to do that because we don't need to. So here we are left with sealing up the valve and then the transfer port. The valve itself comes apart. It's basically just finger pressure. Push on this end, pull out the transfer port, and then all of this will come apart like that, like that. So there's your valve there. We're going to replace 2 O-rings here on the transfer port, one here, well, one on each end. We're going to replace the exhaust valve seal and stem, and there's an O-ring here we need to replace. There's 3 O-rings in there basically that we need to do. So I'll pull those off and then we'll come back and, well, all right, we're putting these O-rings back on, and this one went on pretty easy. I used my funnel, but it went on easy enough. I think I would have got it on anyway, so that one's good. Now this one was difficult, and so I made a little cone tool. I don't have any brass that gets that small, so we made a tool here and get it on there. Come on, there it is. Okay, so we get it started on the cone kind of like that, and this end is drilled out to fit over the top of that like so. Then we just have to push this down and it snaps into place. That's easier than spending a couple hours trying to get it, together there. So we got that done, we got that done. This is the new exhaust valve. I got this from Mac 1. It looks different, if you'll notice, from the original here. But the stem is the same, and so it should work okay. It shouldn't be a problem. Now in here, I took 220 and 320 grit, and I polished the seat. And let's take a look in there too. Okay, we're using our Teslong bore snake and bore scope. Take a look inside here, and you see that part in the middle, the round part? That's what we polished up, and that's what the exhaust valve sits on. That kind of shiny thing in the middle there. It's elevated above the rest of the end of the chamber there, so that this will sit on that middle part. So we're ready. Let's go ahead and get this started here. There's our exhaust valve. I suppose I should have put the spring on first. What did I do? No, that's right. I'm not sure what's holding it up at this point. There it is. Okay, so there's our spring, our exhaust valve stem sticking out. This piece goes in against that spring, and one of these is the transfer port. It should be this one here, and the other 2 are where you screw in those screws from the side of the gun. So let's see, the long piece on this sticks up, no, goes into the, I'm sorry, the long end of this goes into the valve. Compress that. Well, a little persuasion, and we got this together. I put it in the vise and squeezed it gently, and that put the O-ring in. There's a little step in here, and that got the O-ring through there. And then while I had it in there, I went ahead and installed the transfer port here in the top. So we're ready to put all that back together. But we also need to put a new O-ring on the bolt. To do that, we're going to push in on the pin and pull this pin out. And then this part here, let's see, how does this come apart now? And there's your bolt right there. We got to take this, I guess it's got an O-ring on it. No, there's no O-ring at all on there. And the kit that I got from Mac 1 was for a 177, so it's not going to work. I'm going to have to get a different O-ring, but that's where you put it, right there, and then you can install that back in. If a person wanted to take the side off for some reason, there's a screw here that you could do that. Well, let's see if we can get this all back together now. Take our valve that we put together, and it goes, this O-ring is going to fit down inside here to seal where the power outlet comes in. We've got that little stop for the spring that goes in the front. Okay. And then the spring, hammer spring, and then the hammer comes in here, like so. There's a transfer port from the valve into the barrel. Well, actually, I think what we'll do is we'll put that in the barrel itself. Okay, we're ready to put the halves together. You have to get the bolt back in before you put them together, or else they won't go in. I went ahead and screwed in the valve here, so it's ready to go. Got the hammer spring. So let's go ahead and see if we can get it together here. Like that, huh? Okay, we're good. Put this screw back in. All right, so now we're ready to put in, well, let's see if it caulks, huh? That'd be another thing we can do before we go any further. Okay, it does. And we put this, okay, I put the tube back in there, and then we put in the guide and power adjuster, and then finally this piece right here. We screw that in. We're going to go as far as we can by hand. Okay, let's make sure everything works. Cock it, fires. Safety. Safety works. Bolt. A little stiff because of that new O-ring, but we're pretty well set, and we're ready to put a new power outlet in there and see if it holds gas overnight. So let me go grab one. We'll put it together. What we're going to do is we're going to weigh it, and if it weighs the same tomorrow as it does tonight, that means it's not leaking. Well, we had a bit of an accident with our video, and we finished the rebuild on the 78G and tested it, put a power outlet in it. Everything worked. We weighed it the next day, weighed the same so it's not losing any gas. But that part of the video got messed up and lost, so I don't have it for you. Actually, I went back to the guy that I bought it from, who had had it since he was young, and actually was a sentimental kind of thing for him. He hated to get rid of it, but it didn't work, and so I offered it back to him at what I had paid him, plus the cost of the parts and shipping, and so he took it back. So I think that's a happy ending. But hopefully this video shows how to take it apart, how to put it back together, and to test it. Like I say, you just put it on a scale with the power lid in it, weigh it, come back a day later, weigh it again, and if the weight is the same, then it's a good rebuild. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.